Hello, greetings, and hi. Thank you for tuning in, and it's great to have you with us. The trend of graphene or graphene products continues unabated, and new products keep coming out that promise us almost magical things. The AutoFinesse Graphene Filler. Liquid wax is no different. It makes several promises. And that's why I thought I would take a look at this product together with you, because it also has a larger comparison section testing liquid waxes. Polymer sealants on the English channel, the forensic detailing channel were tested, and that's why I'm very curious to find out together with you whether the product promises can be kept. The AutoFinesse Graphene Filler Liquid Wax is a, yes, one could say liquid wax, or English it's also called a paint sealant. Don't overthink the terminology too much. What these products can do is much more important than the category they fall into. From the product description, you can already see that AutoFinesse says, this is a super sealant, a super polymer sealant designed to create extreme gloss, which is supposed to be durable. This is the durability here, which is supposed to be ultra hydrophobic and last up to 6 months. That would be quite a long time if it achieves that. No? It also states that it is infused with graphene and indeed real graphene. So it simply states graphene, form of carbon that is 100 times stronger than steel. I really have to interject critically here. What these products generally contain is a form of graphene oxide or reduced graphene oxide. It is physically and chemically impossible for real graphene to be present here. And that's why talking about this statement 100 times stronger than steel is true in relation to real graphene, but not true in relation to reduced graphene oxide. I consider that to be a very sensitive and technically also false statement. But okay, let's leave it at that. Here it also mentions the next generation of superpolymer sealant, ONS. That is also a bold statement. That means it bonds on a molecular level with the paint and creates a smooth, impenetrable protective layer that is supposed to be much harder than any clear coat. Wow, that's impressive. So this thing here, the 500 ml, costs currently around 25. You have to order it directly from Finesse in England. Usually works quite well with Finesse. The items do arrive, but as far as I know, they are not available in any German-speaking shop. Well, a lot is promised about what this is supposed to produce. In terms of application, it's really not rocket science. You should prepare the car well, put a few drops on the applicator. Work one panel at a time, which is still important, meaning always apply and then remove section by section, and that's basically it. So relatively simple. The safety warning is marked with an exclamation point, and it states below that can cause skin irritation. So yes, that is a safety notice that should also be taken into account, but from my perspective, it's not very serious, and it wouldn't discourage using it. And with that, we now know everything we need to know. We know the price, we know where it is available, and most importantly, we know what the manufacturer promises here. And with that, we can move on to the actual test. This means for me, I will now go outside and apply this to my car. In order for this test to run properly and reasonably, I first need to prepare my test area. And for that, I will briefly treat it with a finishing polish, namely the Rupes, which I believe is really recommended far too rarely and is completely underestimated. Although it says fine on it, this is a medium finishing polish. Rupees is one of the manufacturers that thankfully has understood that this rigid old system of cut, medium and finish is actually completely pointless and outdated today, thanks to modern polishing technology, such as the disintegrating polishing grains based on aluminum oxide. 2 polishes, one with a good cut that achieves a high finish, and a good finishing polish that also has a lot of cut with the appropriate pads. In my view, this is the modern polishing system. Therefore, I will now use the Darfine together with the black Zwizzer thermopad, which is the very soft finishing pad. And the Rupees, well, let's call it what it actually looks like. The Rupees ladies' shoe. The 75mm battery machine from Rupees, E21. We will prepare the test surfaces with the good old SONAX prepare. That means I spray the polished surfaces generously. Let the prepare work here for a moment. We always say chemistry needs time to take effect, and before it starts to evaporate. I wipe off the residues here. I give myself a bit more prepare on the cloth. This is the other method you can use to apply the prepare. I personally prefer to spray it on the paint, because then, as I said, I have a bit of time for it to take effect. So, what I like about the prepare is that it creates a nice glide film at first. This way I have less risk of scratching the paint, again after polishing. And only then does it evaporate residue-free, leaving a typical dull paint feel post-degreasing. And with that, we are done. Well, we have already seen before that AutoFinesse clearly recommends the construction partially by order. I now have the graphene wax here. I have a Lake Country applicator, and then we will start, because that is the nice thing about such products. They are really simple and easy to use. I am putting a few small drops on here because I really only have a small paint area. Then I roughly spread it everywhere first, and then I will start distributing it in a cross pattern. At first the pad hesitates, but that is normal because I have polished and degreased the surface. And these foam applicators simply do not like being moved over degreased surface when they are dry. However, once I have spread the wax, it actually goes quite well. But I have to say, the applicator does not glide over it that easily and simply. I have experienced better lubricated products. Now I will try it in circular motions. No, it doesn't get better. So, I have to say, this is not the most pleasant product to apply on the paint. Yes, no, it actually gets worse. I have really spread it very thinly here. So, and in this way, we also follow AutoFinesse in the application method. We remove it immediately. So the application was not pleasant, but the removal was much better, because it comes off wonderfully easily. And I wish there were haptic television or haptic videos. You could feel it. Look how the cloth glides here. A beautiful paint smoothness. So you have to give it to the product. It can do that. Very, very nice. Beautiful, I really have to say. I like it a lot. Very nice. Good. And with that, we have already applied it. As you can see, I have already removed the adhesive strips, and I'll show it to you. Then let's see if we can see a visible change in the paint here. So this here, yes, this is an adhesive edge, but here is the Dodo Juice Iron Gloss applied. This is what I envision when I talk about color refreshment. It's brutal. Here is the edge of the graphene filler liquid wax from AutoFinesse, and here I have to say, wow. No. I mean, for the best will, 2001, just no. There is a very slight change. But otherwise, I have to say, if I take a few steps back, no. I wouldn't call this a product whose strength is to create a color refresh. For some with such products, that means liquid wax and liquid polymer sealants. An important property is filling properties. Also from the perspective that filling properties can be an indication of gloss-enhancing properties. I have now prepared a paint panel here on which you can see once again, without strong light you cannot assess the paint condition, but you can already see it at the edge. With a strong light source, you see now we have beautiful, classic swirls, round paint defects, and matting that I created with a magic sponge and a small cotton pad. And with that, we can now wonderfully try how good the filling properties of this product are. The nice thing is, you can already see it with the naked eye, without me shining a light on it. Yes, you can see it extremely well here. Here you can see it. Oh yes, this way you can see it even better. Here I have the Dodo Juice Iron Gloss on. Here I have the Sam Ceramic Wax on. And here the AutoFinesse. The darkening is slightly less intense than with the other two products. It's exactly what I said before. So here I applied the Dodo Juice Iron Gloss, here the AutoFinesse Graphene Filler Liquid Wax, and up here the Sam Ceramic Wax. Now let's take a careful and thorough look at the result of the AutoFinesse compared to the untreated side. Carefully observe the details of the comparison. Look up here. Yes, there is a slight darkening. Perhaps one could say that slight defects have been somewhat covered here. But I mean, this applies to all three products here. And that is what we keep telling you. Filling properties can indeed provide a certain gloss enhancement on weathered paints. But to be honest, it's just not the same as when I polish my paint. That's where the real gloss comes from. That's why I'm going to let the pictures speak for themselves. So each of you can decide for yourselves whether you consider these filling properties to be special. So, the AutoFinesse Graphene Filler Liquid Wax has had enough time to air out and cure or react, however you want to call it. You can see there is already a bit of natural beading before the light rain shower. I am very curious. Above all, I expect a lot here because AutoFinesse promises outstanding hydrophobicity. Let's see. Yes. Wait a moment. I need to hold the bottle differently, right? There. Yes. Now. Wow, that's really quite extremely very difficult indeed, isn't it? So what? Wow, no. Wow, so what do you all say? But, oh, well, the droplets are undeniably uneven. If you take a look at them, when I apply a lot of water, a puddle forms. Very difficult. So you can't say that nothing happened here at all? Not that, but wow. Well, to be honest, I don't find this a good experience. But yes, well, that's the interim conclusion here. Now, just here in direct comparison, that's exactly why I included three products here. 2001 Dodo Juice Iron Gloss. Here is the adhesive edge, there is the AutoFinesse on it. Take a look at the Dodo Juice, and then next to it, there is obviously nothing. And there is the AutoFinesse. Pay attention to the puddle that forms, which does not form here on the left. Beading behavior, Dodo Juice, adhesive edge, AutoFinesse. So, I don't think you can even compare that at all. And the nice thing is, I don't have to say anything about it. The pictures speak more than 1,000 words. So yes, it can't be said otherwise. The AutoFinesse is, well, I think it's really bad, to be honest. Now we naturally have to see how it behaves when a bit more water is applied. That's why I drove to the self-service box. You can already see that the initial hydrophobia is actually quite okay. Watch what happens now. The more often I go over it with the high-pressure cleaner alone, hope you see that the hydrophobia is getting worse. This means that the water no longer beads up quickly, but rather collects into a large puddle. And if you look very closely, you will also see the droplet shape is becoming less round. And as I said, this is solely due to the high-pressure cleaner. And that is always a very, very bad sign when we observe something like this, and a poor indicator of a product's durability. On the left side of the surface, you can see the Dodo Juice Iron Gloss, which looks damn good. And on the right, you see Sam's Detailing Ceramic Wax. That also doesn't look bad, but even there you can already observe it gets worse the more often and the longer I hold it. But look at Yusen now, how the water is already collecting on the surface where the AutoFinesse is applied. Next step, we grab a pH neutral, pure shampoo without any additives, namely the SONAX car shampoo, and wash over the surface, then rinse off the shampoo to simply simulate a normal load from a very basic one-time hand wash and to see if anything changes. What you can clearly see now is that as soon as we have washed off the surfactant film from the shampoo, the Dodo Juice Iron Gloss on the far left is fully back, just as it was before. On the far right, Sam's Detailing Ceramic Wax has already suffered significantly. However, you will get a separate video on that. And in the middle, where the AutoFinesse is applied, it looks really, really, really bad now. So look how slowly the water is now pooling there. So I think that, have to be honest, when I saw that at the self-service box, I thought, wow, this could be a difficult test and a very, very challenging conclusion. Now also in close-up, really pay attention to the lower area where we have a bit better runoff behavior. But look there how uneven the droplets already are on the runoff paths. That is a closed water carpet. And the problem with this story is as follows. Now some might go and say and claim and determine that AutoFinesse is more of a good cheater and not a product that has good beading. This means that the runoff behavior is good and the water simply gathers in a closed film, leaving little behind. The problem with this story is that it is not entirely true. Beading and sheeting are both phenomena of hydrophobia and cannot be separated because it simply depends on how much water you apply to a surface, which you would observe or not observe. And I will just tell you a bit more about the argument of the contracting water film. Now I have washed over the surfaces again once, twice, and a third time. So we have now simulated a total of 4 washes here. And then we will take another look at the whole thing after I have rinsed it off. You can already see far right, it will be difficult for the Sam's detailing wax now, but I have to say, at least there is still something left. Far left with the Dodo juice, as soon as we have washed off the surfactant film, we see that we have a small spot in the lower third where we have cracked it, but it is still definitely fully present in the upper area and in the middle with the AutoFinesse. So I will tell you what I think about it. Yes, the water film then nicely contracts back in that sense. But if you want that, you can also simply apply a sealant from 2001, wash the paint easily, because then you will have exactly the same result. What we see here in terms of hydrophobia is exactly what we see when a paint has simply been properly cleaned and polished. This is not a result that I personally expect from the sealant. This is especially not a result that I expect from the sealant, which according to the manufacturer and supposedly from 2001 has ultra hydrophobia or mega strong hydrophobia, as AutoFinesse unfortunately claims here. And also in terms of durability, I must say, I strongly doubt that the AutoFinesse will last 6 months. When I look at how it already looks after 4 simple washes with a completely normal pH neutral shampoo. So yes, I have to say, when I stood there in the self-service box and saw that, I was shocked. I found it a really sad sight, especially when I consider what is promised by the manufacturer. And with that, you have to leave it. And volley, I actually want to leave it at that. So let's move on to the conclusion about the AutoFinesse Graphene Filler Liquid Wax. Let's keep it objective. What was promised to us here, namely that it should be a super sealant, that it should be ultra hydrophobic, that it should last up to 6 months, that it is supposedly infused with graphene and nothing else is stated, that it forms a bond with the paint on a molecular level, leaving a very smooth, impenetrable shield on your paint that is harder than the clear coat itself. 2001, and that this is supposed to be the ultimate performance coating for any paint. Let's start with the positive aspects. The removal of the product, that is, wiping it off with the microfiber cloth, is incredibly easy and pleasant. And yes, it actually creates a very nice, very pronounced paint smoothness. Unfortunately, that's it for the positive points because in my test, I couldn't identify, see, or verify a single one apart from the paint smoothness of the points listed on the back. You have clearly and unequivocally seen that when we talk about ultra-hydrophobic, that is definitely not the case in my view. When compared to something like Dodo Juice Iron Gloss, for heaven's sake, when you then contrast it with something like the SONAX Polymer Net Shield, the Infinity Wax Turbo 6, for example. Yes, there's no other way to say it. In terms of hydrophobicity, the AutoFinesse Graphene Filler Wax definitely falls short against these products. So I consider ultra-hydrophobic to be. Yes, I consider that to be a false claim. I cannot understand how it is supposed to last up to 6 months. It's really difficult to comprehend. If the hydrophobicity is as poor as we have seen, and especially if it is already so bad after so few washes, as we have observed, how am I supposed to check if there is really anything left after 6 months? If the appearance I see on the paint is similar to what I have after a polish, when there is no sealant on it, it's difficult to believe that this should create extreme shine. I also consider that to be bold. We clearly saw again that the Dodo Juice Iron Gloss creates an amazing color refresh. The same can be said about SONAX Polymer Net Shield, and that Surface's hybrid wax cream, for example, can do that. Honestly, I haven't seen any significant change on the paint here. This is a very, very difficult conclusion for me now because, as I said, I cannot understand these things. I honestly cannot understand how this product could win the test from the forensic detailing channel because I don't find it particularly durable based on what I've seen. That was now objectively subjective, and this is now my very personal opinion. This is customer deception. Promises are made here that the product simply cannot keep. And I even go so far as to say that I very much doubt that the manufacturer themselves, who writes these things on the bottle, has ever tried this product for themselves. Because then one would not write here that it is ultra-hydrophobic, extremely shiny, and extremely long-lasting if one saw it for themselves. At the end of the day, in my view, this is just a very ordinary, simple product, and it must be said clearly and distinctly as it is. A bad liquid wax, that's all it is. Nice, simple processing, nice paint smoothness, that's it. We have so many other great products in this area of polymer sealants. Liquid wax and the hybrid variants from these two categories, where I personally say for $25, which is what this bottle costs, you can definitely get better products on the market. And I mean, the pictures you have seen speak volumes and are self-explanatory. Actually don't need to say much more about it. For me, a hugely disappointing product because there are products from AutoFinesse that I must say are at least fairly priced. They work reasonably well, not outstanding, but they work okay and also provide a pleasant application or a nice scent. The graphene filler liquid wax doesn't even achieve that because it simply smells like solvents. I say it again, for me personally, a bitter and harsh disappointment. I definitely cannot recommend it to you in this form. I wouldn't advise you to take a look at it or get it either. And with this harsh conclusion, I unfortunately have to leave it at that. If you still like the video, please give us a thumbs up, support the channel with a free subscription, and tune in for the next video. Bye.